High Plains Technology Center, turning education and training into workplace success.
Oh, back to school to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool.
High Plains Technology Center, education at the speed of business. School is now in session.
Good morning. This is Katie Shirley with High Plains Technology Center. I'm the marketing coordinator, and I have with me a special guest this morning, Mrs. Goss. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So we're covering for Taylor this week, and Danna is the TAP director. And so, Danna, how long have you been at High Plains?
So this is my 8th year at High Plains Technology Center. I'm teaching TAP.
Awesome. And so 8 years and 8 years since TAP began, right?
Correct.
So for some of the listeners that may not know what TAP is, can you give us a brief kind of what is TAP, what does it stand for, and all the little basic details?
Absolutely. So TAP stands for Technical Application Program. What we do at the middle school, our crew there, we teach the programs that are taught on the Hill at High Plains Technology Center. So the 10 daytime programs, along with safety, and we teach wind and oil and gas. And so those things are what we teach to 6th graders, 8th graders, 9th graders, and 10th graders at the Woodward Middle School. But our sending schools also come. So we serve all 7 of the sending schools in the area at TAP.
And you had a little bit of growth this year, maybe 318 with the whole county. So tell us a little bit about how that's gone with Beaver County this year and what TAP looks like out there.
Very good. Yes. And also it's grown here in Woodward as well because all of the Moreland freshmen come to TAP. All of the Fort Supply freshmen come to TAP. All of the Buffalo 7th graders come to TAP. And so the numbers here in Woodward is also much larger than it's been. So we're at 137 on my side, 95 on Miss Stedman's side. Miss Stedman will get 95 new ones at Christmas. I'll get 75 new ones at Christmas. So by the end of the year, I'm here on the Woodward campus. We have a lot of students come through. And then with the addition of Beaver County, we've extended TAP into those 4 schools at Beaver County. So TAP is also taught at Balco, Beaver, Turpin, and Forgan.
Awesome. So TAP is an elective choice for which grades?
So it's an elective always. It's an elective for every class.
Okay.
So 6th graders obviously are not accruing credits. 8th graders aren't as well, but it does count as elective. 9th and 10th graders actually has a state code, and so it is taught there. You know, the goal of TAP is to prepare kids to go to work here in Northwest Oklahoma. So we're trying to close the skills gap, have kids that are better prepared whenever they get to the daytime programs at the tech center, which then allows our instructors at High Plains to get them ready to be certified to go to work.
Right. I mentioned it a couple shows ago, but definitely seeing the fruit of those students that have began 8 years ago, because now it's really neat to see them, when we've got seniors from 6th grade TAP 8 years ago. And so we actually just had a little trivia game at the big campus with posters of 4 different pictures from 6th grade TAP 8 years ago, and how many students could identify who was there and what program they were in now. But definitely love seeing on my end too, since I get to hop around everywhere and take pictures and be a part of the students kind of in and out of their life the whole time, from when they're with you to all the way when they're now like with Jack Day or in practical nursing. So I definitely get to see the fruit of what you guys have done, and beginning with these students, especially the skills of just communication that they develop and their leadership. Where was it Kellen Kanzler? Mm-hmm. He's always the one I think of who would not even want to talk. He said he'd rather crawl under the table and die than speak in front of anyone. And that was, beginning in TAP. And then we continually work on giving him opportunities to get out there, and then by the time he's graduating, he's speaking in front of 5,000 at Skills USA as a state officer. So
right, actually, Kellen came by last Friday. He's actually working in Weatherford building cabinets, and so he's putting all the skills that he's learned from TAP, from Mr. Carlson, through all of his competitions, and he's employed. And so that, from really our perspective, is really enjoyable to see all the way through. There's some 6th graders that were in 6th grade TAP, they're in the WIN program right now.
Right.
And so for it to become full board, it's really awesome.
Yeah, that is neat. So tell us some of the latest big activities that TAP has done. I know there's a million and one things, but what are some of the big things you guys have actually been doing in class?
Right. So we just, on my side, on our side with Ms. Persons, myself, Mr. Stone, Mr. Holderman, Mr. Rogers, we have a lot of teachers on our side to cover those 137 students, which is a blessing. And we finished marketing. And so we built food trucks. And they had to build a full-fledged logo, a menu that was realistic, and they did that in computer class. And then we set up the food trucks, and actually Taylor and Phil came, and they made Italian cream sodas the day before. We made desserts in class. And so we learned some service skills on how to properly introduce somebody, how to take an order, how to serve, how to make change. Those small things in life that sometimes as adults we take for granted, but kids need to be exposed to those things.
You definitely notice when they're not happening. You're like, well,
yeah, exactly. And on Miss Stebbins' side, she just finished up welding. And so every 6th grader, Mr. Holderman and Mr. Stone were really troopers. They welded straight, 2 days straight with 6th graders. So everybody on Mrs. Stedman's side struck an arc. They actually were geared up, safety obviously first, and they were geared up, and so they all got to weld. Miss Stedman is headed to multimedia. That's the program that she's headed to next. We are currently just getting started in automotive and diesel. So we'll talk about, hydraulics and brakes and all the different components of the engine. We'll talk about the difference between diesel and gas. A lot of those things that we'll learn, how to change a tire, those basics, whether you want to be a mechanic or not.
Right.
Most kids are going to want to drive. Good skills to know. But then we'll get into the deep stuff too.
Okay. So you also have TAP officers and then a TAP club. So let's talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Right. So just a couple of days ago, we had our October TAP meeting. It was the first meeting that our officers were in charge of the meeting, and they really did an outstanding job. We had an officer meeting last week to kind of train up on whose jobs were going to be what. The kids really took the lead on that and did an amazing job. There's about 125 kids there. We were very thankful. I'm a farmer rancher when I'm not at school, and so hunting and fishing is part of the life. And there's a lot of accidents that happen in terms of ATV safety, in terms of hunting and fishing, and so we want to bring that in. Some other outside things to cover. So we were very thankful that the game wardens came. We had wardens here from Dewey County, Major County, and Harper County, so that was a blessing. They spent the whole day actually with us on our side, teaching students how to properly shoot a bow, and that was very cool. And then we had the Department of Wildlife came with the traps, and then we had OSU Extension Service. They sent their ATV coordinator and instructor out to teach ATV safety and really talk about wearing a helmet. How to properly ride a four-wheeler or side-by-side, either one. And so really bring to light some things that maybe students have been exposed to or take advantage of on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's great. And so you have that each month at the beginning of the month, first Monday of the month?
Yes, ma'am.
And then you bring in industry guests and different topics each month. So that has been pretty interesting. What do you have coming up next month?
So next month is going to be energy. And so we've got people coming in to talk about geothermal and electrical energy, mechanical energy. And then we do some leadership things at Christmas, and then we'll get into the spring with some more fun. The way that our crew tries to set it up is kids come as 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. So we try to not have the same guests except for every 4 years. But if you're out there and you're interested and you have an industry that you know that you're looking for workers, we're always game to add new people to our TAP club agenda, if you will, and we can always spin it a way that we can tie it to what we're doing in class, and so that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's great for them to learn to interact with them as well and ask their questions. That can always be interesting, the questions they have, and just making those relationships even with our industry folks. So let's see, what is talking about the first of the year. Let's talk about TAP Olympics real quick and the county fair.
Right. So, it happened in Beaver County and here in Woodward County, along with Dewey County and Harper County. So if a student was enrolled in TAP, they made a project, produced a project or a picture, and they entered it in the county fair. My background being FFA and 4-H, the county fairs are important. It's important to understand where your food comes from and participate. I think also it needs to be really stressed that community involvement is key.
Right.
We live in a great place. Not everybody around the state of Oklahoma is blessed to live in Northwest Oklahoma or in our area here to know how kind people are.
Yeah.
So it's good for kids to learn community service at a very young age. So we all did that. And then they got in teams. And so then we did TAP Olympics. So they did race for tools on automotive, measured boards, gave CPR, learned how to properly check the oil on a lawnmower, start it. Super fun. Always when you make it a race, kids seem to love it. But they also got to go to the county fair and see what it was all about. So that's very cool. Some other things that we do, Miss Bailey out at the event center, who does a fantastic job. Our TAP officers will go out and help with Cookies with Santa. And then kids in Beaver County and in Woodward County and High Plains' district, all across Northwest Oklahoma, will compete in the mechanics show that's coming in February with their involvement in 4-H and FFA. And the car show for the Rodders will be March 28th.
So save the date for
Save
that.
the date. If you've got a cool car, come out on March 28th and support the kids.
One thing that's neat with TAP that we've seen is where, the student may not have found their niche yet. They may not be a part of a sporting group yet. They may not have any other sort of extracurricular activities in their day or their life. And so with TAP, it's neat to see this can be the thing that's really make a student's day and make them want to come to school. That's what we love out at High Plains. It's their favorite part of the day. The hands-on, they're glad to be out there. And we love to get to be the part of their favorite part of their day. And I know with TAP, you always hear every school I go to in Beaver, I was out there a couple weeks right after school started, and the students just in love with TAP. It's their favorite part. They're so happy. So it must be fun to get to be a part of, something so just fun and rewarding like that.
Right. It's super a great. It's just great to just watch the atmosphere of students just really come into their own, really experience and make their education their own, I guess.
Yeah.
More personalized, I guess. Also, it just makes sense to them. Last week we did a little bolt activity. It was real simple activity, but they had to measure the length of the bolt. Then they had to find the wrench that fit the top of the bolt. And, kids then were like, oh, that's a fraction on the wrench.
Right.
And so it really brought to life and combined those things that they learn in their core classes. And, really at the end of the day, application will just make more sense. And that's really why we've seen success of student success in terms of ACT scores and all the other things, besides the fact that they shake my hand every day and look us in the eye and they can actually have a conversation.
Right. We've only got a couple minutes, but what are some things that pop off in your mind about something that you've seen them learn that you're, surprised that they didn't know that with kind of the generation, as in it's like the clock, learning how to read time.
Right. Yeah. The clock really is we practice that on a daily basis because they only know how to look at the digital clock.
Yeah.
We teach military time when we get to health, and just to look at the clock is just a thing. We have students that are trying to teach their parents about financial things because we talk about that. What is input cost? What's the profit margin? Not that they're experts at it, but we expose them to real life things because you never know. That entrepreneur might be sitting in TAP.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And most people, unless they've got a money tree in their backyard, which if they do, I'm moving to that house. Yeah. They need a secondary way to help pay for their way to get through school. And no matter if it's high school, whether it's learning at the tech center, and a lot of people have to have two jobs with the way the economy is, which is important.
Yeah. So last thing, let's see, what would you like to leave with the guests just about TAP or your job or High Plains in general?
Right. So High Plains obviously is a great place to work. I'm very family oriented. I've taught at a lot of places, like I've said before, and it's just one of the best places that I've ever been to be employed in. So I appreciate that. The other thing that I just want to reiterate over and over, you just don't realize how lucky you are to live in Northwest Oklahoma in the Woodward area. It's the best people around, the businesses, the communities, their support. They're all in for students. If students are succeeding, everybody around is all about it. And so I just want to say thank you so much for having that opportunity to just be a part of it and allow students just to grow and learn and live here in Northwest Oklahoma.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Danna. And one last thing before we go is we are going to have a United Fund sale at High Plains on the 21st, and we're opening it up to any community members that would like to come bid on our auction. So the 21st, you can come to High Plains from 7:30 a.m. and the silent auction will close at 11:30.
And the TAP kids have made some stuff. So there's some stuff from construction that the TAP kids have made. And so
if anything, come see the stuff.
Right, because a lot of the students at the Tech Center have made items that are going to be in there.
The sale is growing every year, and so please come and help shop. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in.